If a sustainable home is top of your list, you've come to the right place. Visit WA's most sustainable two-storey home, the Green Homes Display at Brabham Estate. Live greener, live better at Pete's Brabham Estate.
Everyone's got a story.
Everyone's got a story.
Yes, everyone has got a story. And today's story is David Honey, Dr. David Honey, leader of the WA Liberal Party. Not about politics, but just about his life. Who is he and what does he really stand for? How you going, mate?
Yeah, hi, Steve. Yeah, great. And hi to your listeners as well.
People who don't know you would see you, this is the best way I could summarise it, because the cricket's on in the World Cup, right? You've come to the crease, right? And you're 9 for 99, chasing 500. And they'll be going, you got no hope, pal. I mean, do you love it like that? Are you an underdog?
Oh, look, I'd prefer we're in a very different situation to the one we're in now, but that's what it is. And Steve, you know, you're a very experienced person. You can't do anything about the past. You can only do something about the future. And that's very much what the focus is on.
Sure. Do you think people know who you are?
Look, more so, and, you know, a really unusual situation in the last election. You know, Mark McGowan, the most popular premier in the history of Australia, quite easily, and still very popular. And, you know, clearly in the last election, no one much cared about the opposition. And I was just a humble backbencher then, or you know, in an acting, you know, shadow role. But look, I think increasingly people do know who I am, and that's our job, to get that message out, to maintain the brand and grow the brand.
Right. I don't want to talk politics today if we can help it. Okay. And I know it's hard for you because that's your life. No. And a lot of your life has been politics. So I appreciate that. But I want to get to things such as you're a black belt. Yeah. So that gives me even more respect for you right now. I mean, how did you get into that?
No, well, it's not quite what you might think in the black belt of karate. It's a black belt Six Sigma.
What's that?
And I won't bore your listeners
what is it?
with any great detail, but it's a way of improving processes, all sorts of processes, but it's a methodology that you use to optimise processes. Look, Steve, I worked in industry for 24 years before coming into Parliament, 8.5 years in government.
Right.
So
we'll get there in a minute.
That's been my life before now.
So I don't have to be scared of you. You're not going to
No, I think you're pretty safe.
Where were you born?
Look, I was born on I was born in actually in a hospital in Mount Barker, but I grew up on a little farm just out west of Cranbrook, very humble circumstances. And can I say, I can't think of a better thing in life than growing up on a farm. My dad had to work off the farm because, you know, parents didn't have a lot of money. And so Mum had to really do most of the job of raising us. But of course, as kids, it was a wonderland. The only time Mum knew where we were was at mealtime.
Right. And you came back
yeah.
for a feed. Your brothers and yourself still own that farm or a different farm?
Yeah, no, we've still got that farm. So we lease it out to a neighbour and we still get to go down there and sort of relive our youth and pretend we're farmers.
Is it ironic that the Nationals... you know, they're basically the leader of the opposition as a Nationals member, and yet you're born in the country. Do you often shake your head and think I should have gone to that side of the fence?
You know, I've spent the majority of my adult life in Perth now, whilst we've still got the farm and the association there. But look, what a rare circumstance. You know, the first time since 1936 that the leader of the Parliamentary Liberal Party isn't either the leader of the opposition or the Premier. But again, that's the situation we have, and we just have to get on and do our job.
Right. You've always looked fit, and now I understand why, that you are a bronze surf lifesaving certified person and a key member of the Cottesloe Surf Lifesaving Club.
Yeah, look, it's a fantastic organisation. You know, just picture in your mind sort of David Hasselhoff when he was younger, Steve. That's the image I want your listeners to have in their mind. But no, not quite. But you know, I love the surf club. I love the act, belong, commit. You know that mantra. And the Cottesloe Surf Club, about half the members come from Greater Perth. They're all walks of life, and everyone there is committed to service. Either training kids or doing patrols. I mean, I do my patrols 2 Saturdays ago. I was out there doing my bit and just really enjoy that. And I think everyone should do some service, some voluntary activity.
Now, you got a doctorate in chemistry. So were you smart when you were a kid?
Look, I can tell you, I could have never imagined I would have even got to university when I was a little kid. I was a shy little country kid out in the bush, and I was in awe of all these smart city people. And but my mum and dad just really devoted their lives to giving their kids the opportunities they never had in life. I mean, my dad didn't get educated past grade 7. And had to go out and work as a man during the Great Depression to support his family.
A lot of parents did that, didn't they, who didn't get the same opportunity as perhaps we got and sacrificed a lot in order to give you a good education. Where were you educated?
Yeah, so look, I went to the little Cranbrook Primary School, and then I came up to Perth. I boarded at a place called Swanlee Hostel, which was an interesting institution. It was an Anglican boarding hostel for country kids, but you went to the local government high school, so you got the sort of mixture of the, little bit of that private school world of sport and doing your theatre and things at the hostel. But Hampton High School, government high school, it was the biggest high school in the state at that stage, and you got to mix with all walks of life. And most of my mates were in fact kids from Hampton, so you really got to sort of experience both worlds.
That just slipped through at the start of that we got to bit of theatre. I mean, were you a thespian back
Oh,
in the
look,
day?
I wouldn't say. Not of any note, but they really encouraged everyone to try everything.
Can you remember a role that you played?
We had Pierrots. Look, can I say I was only ever one of the support cast, Steve?
In the background.
Not someone who was the lead on anything.
You decided that you would finish school, and you obviously did okay because you finished up at uni and you finished up with a doctorate, as we said, in chemistry. Why chemistry?
Yeah, look, it was sort of, I did actually consciously decide to do it. I can tell you at the end of high school, I had no idea what I was going to do. I will say I wasn't the most diligent student in high school. I was lucky to have sort of native talent that could get me into uni. I didn't actually realise what I wanted to do until third year uni, but I'd done okay in chemistry, and I really realised by third year that I loved that, and I went on and did went through and did honours. I got first class honours and did a PhD. I was a late bloomer though. I think that's probably the best way to put it.
Coming good. Anyone of note that was in your cohort?
Well, look, most scientists aren't of particular note around the place. I'd probably say, we had some outstanding scientists there, guys like Dave Allen, actually his wife Beth, and others. But probably in the chemistry department, it is one of the things I despair, I think, in among scientists and engineers, is that they all get on with their jobs, but very few of them go on to sort of high position in public life. But Hampton was a superb school. We had a superb maths and science class and teachers, and they just gave us a great grounding. And it's sort of a shame, I think, today that probably if you go to the school, there wouldn't be the same percentage of kids doing maths and science, and I think that's a real tragedy in the education system generally.
Were you exposed to politics whilst at uni, or was that later on?
No, look, and I probably didn't have much of an opinion of politicians when I was at school. And I'll tell you, look, and I've told most of my colleagues, I was very much a swinging voter. I got involved in student politics in my postgraduate years, and it might sound a bit awful to say, but mixing with the people from the left, I realised I wasn't like them. But I didn't actually join the Liberal Party until I'd left university altogether, and someone asked me to join the Liberal Party, and 6 years later I was the state president. So I obviously that was on a volunteer role.
Alcoa's played a major part in your life. There's been lots of discussion even today about, companies and what they stand for, etc. How do you view Alcoa and what it's meant to you in your life in raising a family, etc.?
Oh, crikey, Steve. I mean, I've been able to educate all my children. I've had a wonderful career. They gave me the most exciting jobs. Look, I consciously joined Alcoa because of the way they treat people. I was working with Western Mining, and Alcoa and Western Mining did joint management courses together, and I really respected the way that they treated people, the way they managed the environment and the like, and I believe they're still exactly like that today. So I was really proud to work for them and really grateful for the opportunities they gave me.
It's an unusual jump, though, because you started off as a forensic scientist. Tell us about that.
Yeah, look, fascinating. And these days, everyone sort of specialises in degrees. But yeah, I worked across a range of areas, mostly in the area of physical evidence and looking at exciting things like gunshot residues and explosive residues, glass fragments, paint, anything you can think of that you could associate with a crime. We would look at that, and you got to do all sorts of interesting work and did work in forensic toxicology and the like, and you had to give expert evidence in court, which I can tell you was a terrifying experience. When you're not used to that, and you're thinking you're going to end up in a royal commission because you did something wrong.
Yeah.
But
well, they put you under the microscope, don't they? Because obviously, what you're saying, you're an expert witness. Do you watch those crime shows on TV? I know you're a busy man, but do you ever get to watch them and go, that's rubbish. That's not the way you do it.
Well, yeah, they do. The roles you see on shows like CSI are actually about half a dozen different roles. So the police do all the scene of crime work, and then scientists, biological or other scientists do work on evidence depending on the nature of it. But look, it was a fantastic role, but I didn't think there was a career there, and I wanted to try something else.
Talking with David Honey, Dr. David Honey, leader of the WA Liberal Party, and everyone's got a story. When we return, a little bit about the Pelican Point Sea Scouts and how you're involved with that. Very wide.
Get down to your local tennis club today. It's a great sport for all generations. Play with family, friends, or get your workmates in on it. Not only is it fun, but Mayo Clinic research positions tennis above all other sports, adding 9.5 years to your life. Visit play.tennis.com.au.
What does living the better life mean to you? Is it the beautiful parklands, local wineries, cafes and restaurants on your doorstep? Maybe it's reducing your carbon footprint, living greener and more sustainably, or a stunning new home with a beautiful garden and reduced energy bills. At Pete's Brabham Estate, you don't have to choose. Live greener, live better, and head to brabhamistate.com.au to find out more.
Today's story, David Honey, leader of the WA Liberal Party, not on politics, just on his life. Are the Honeys prolific breeders, are they? Because off the text line, 0487 999 882, there's lots of people claiming they're related to you. Your great-grandfather, Richard, married my great-grandmother, Mary Ann, in Port Adelaide, I think, says Andy.
Yeah, he had 11 kids, and he died very young. He was a very wealthy merchant, and his kids spread all over Australia and one to New Zealand as well. But Steve, it'd be obvious to you, it's clearly that the men in the family are extremely attractive, and the women can't resist them.
You married Robin. You met her at university.
Yeah, we met at uni through a mutual friend.
Was she a chemist?
No, she's a lawyer, and one of her friends from school, though, was doing chemistry, and I was president of the chemistry club at that stage, and one of her friends was one of the delegates on the committee, and we caught up through there. So my wife felt very cheated, can I tell you, Steve? She thought she'd gone to Santa Maria, and she thought, well, she's going to get to university, she'll be able to play the field. She'd only been there 2 weeks, and she met me, and we ended up getting married.
Really? What, soon afterwards? Or?
No, we're a long time. We went out for 7 years before we got married. But she wished she was happy we met, but she wished it was a few years later.
Right, and you've kept up the family tradition of breeding. You got 6 children?
Yeah, 3 girls, 3 boys, and that's the meaning of life. Steve, right. I mean, of all the things that people worry about in the world, and, I won't talk about politics, but in politics, people have this crisis and that crisis. Yeah. But, family's number one. And if something was wrong with one of my kids, that's a crisis. Everything else is just an issue you have to deal with. Being
a public figure, as you are, I mean, does that hurt sometimes when people start having a crack at your family or people within your circle of influence?
Steve, I've been pretty lucky with that, and haven't had that, and I've seen that happen to other public figures, and I think it's pretty cruel. I mean, I made it clear to everyone, and even in relation to my wife, it was me that joined, it was me that stood for election and got elected. And it's me that I want people to hold accountable. And look, people respect that by and large. And can I tell you, my family have very diverse political views. Right. Steve, I won't say who it is. I've got one child that's a member of the Labor Party.
You're kidding.
Really? I have. And
so when it comes to handing out how to vote cards, any chance?
Well, for the Labor Party, one of them does, absolutely.
Really?
And
look, and I respect politics.
Look, I respect that. The only thing we care about in terms of politics with our kids, we care that they care. That's it. Yeah. And they're all great kids. They all get involved in volunteer activity, and I love them all to bits.
My grandfather, I often share this pearl with the audience from time to time. He didn't live long enough. I would have loved to have spent more time with him, but I remember him sitting me down once, and he said, "Stephen, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. Do you believe that yourself?
Yeah, look, absolutely. And you know, as I say, I care that they care, and we've lived. I'm grateful for our neighbours, because our house is, and I think still probably the noisiest house in the neighbourhood.
Right.
Very vociferous and loud discussion.
Who's Mr. Ed?
Ed Dermer, I expect. Ed was Ed. You might recall was. In fact, he was the leader of the Labor Party in the upper house for a period of time, and an MLC for many years. Wonderful guy. Ed and I shared a flat in Nedlands for a couple of years, and someone who I really like. He's a lovely bloke.
So he got into politics, according to one of our listeners.
Yeah, guild politics. Because I'd been very involved got involved in the science world, and I was president of the Science Union and president of the Chem Club, and Ed said, hey, how about you stand for guild council? So I thought, fair enough, science students, as I was saying before, they don't get involved in these public roles and so on. So I thought, no, I'll give it a go, and got onto guild council, and I was, got to be guild secretary, and then went on to Senate at the uni to represent students.
But even in politics, if you're not a lawyer or a teacher or a unionist, I mean, you're a chemist. How many chemists have you met in your lifetime in politics?
Yeah, very few. And I remember a professor at university, lovely man, he came to me once and he said, look, David, he said, I know, it's been good fun being involved in the guild, but now it's time for you to really focus on your science and stop being involved in that sort of stuff. So it was sort of looked down upon in that world. And can I say, to the loss of scientists and engineers, not enough in politics. We need more of them so that you get that perspective.
Pelican Point Sea Scouts, I gather, has got to do with your 6 kids?
Yeah, fantastic. Yes, well, 4 of my kids went down there, and anyone that goes down there just at the end of the point down there in Nedlands, it's a fantastic scout group, and I was involved on the committee and so on, and just really loved that and enjoyed it. It's a fantastic institution. Thousands of kids have gone through there, and it really gives a lot of activity, particularly, can I say, for kids from disadvantaged families and single parent families, as well as other families in the area.
You've surmised already that you're heavily involved with the surf club down at Cot. You swim, but do you wear lycra?
Then I tell you what, that'd be a shock to everyone,
wouldn't it?
Do you
wear lycra?
No, I don't. Not for my normal swimming. When I'm on surf patrol and you have to swim
on a bike, I'm talking about.
Oh no, absolutely not.
You have an interest in cycling?
Yeah, look, I do ride a bike a bit, and not competitively, but I get out there and ride a bike. Look, I think men wearing lycra should generally be banned, Steve.
The idea that you could be a premier one day, as I said at the start of the interview, you've just got to the crease and it's 9 for 99 and you're chasing 500. You need a miracle. What do you say to people like that must constantly, look, David, you seem like a good bloke, but you got no hope? In fact, you probably won't even be around to see a next coalition government. I mean, how do you handle that mentally, and how do you not get down when you have a look at the state of affairs with the Liberal Party here in WA?
Well, 2 parts to it. The first thing is that isn't why I got involved in politics. I'm in the position I'm in now, but that wasn't why I joined. I didn't have with some vision. I had a broader vision around making a contribution to public policy. But the other one is, Steve, the only thing you can change is the future. There's nothing I can do about the past. So, I've got a fantastic colleague in the lower house, Libby Medham. She's an outstanding member of parliament. And I've got 7 colleagues in the upper house, and we work really hard. And can I say, we've got a great relationship with Mia Davies and the National Party colleagues, and we pitch in together, and we're doing everything we can to hold this government to account.
Have you had people that have approached you and said, I'd like to run for Churchlands, I'd like to run for South Perth, or previous blue ribbon Liberal seats? Have you had people knocking on your door saying, how do I go about doing that? And how will you market that when the time comes for the next election?
Actually, a surprisingly large number, Steve, and look, we'll have a superb field of candidates in the next election. I think you're very experienced in the world. The politics is a bug. People have got it or they haven't, regardless of where they are in life. And we've got some really excellent people. Actually, we had.
You're going to name some names?
No, I'm not. that wouldn't be fair.
Can I throw a few names?
That wouldn't be fair to them.
Justin Langer has been touted. Basil Zemplis has been touted. Are you worried that Basil Zamplis is after your job?
No, I know he's not. I meet meet them all pretty regularly. Justin rang me, the West ran that big article saying he was going to be standing for my seat, which I thought was pretty interesting. And he said, David, the first time I heard about this was when I read the paper this morning. So, look.
So you don't want him as a candidate?
Oh, look, he'd be a fantastic candidate. Basil would be a fantastic candidate. And, in the Liberal Party, the one thing you don't resile from is a challenge and that competition for places.
Right. I've got to mention it, even though we didn't say we'd speak politics today. The Klan is still a millstone around your neck. What's happening there?
Look, I think the really positive thing there is that the party at its last state conference made major changes to its constitution, especially around pre-selections. Nearly all the mischief in political parties comes out of pre-selections. That's the focus of people's minds. That's what drives the bad behaviour, if you like, in terms of branch stacking and all those things. And those constitutional changes have effectively removed the ability of individuals and groups to influence it. There'll be talk about that. Look, the proof of the pudding is going to be in the eating, isn't it? If we don't have good candidates that are seen to be credible at the next election, we're going to be in real trouble. I'm confident that we will.
Right. So if it doesn't happen and it's your time to go, has it been worth it?
Yeah, look, absolutely. Unfortunately in Parliament, most people just watch Question Time. They don't sort of see the rest of it. But the role of opposition in Parliament is absolutely critical for good government. And, this is, I came into this with open eyes. I didn't come into it with any sort of idea of self-aggrandisement. And absolutely, this is a wonderful experience. I mean, you don't get paid a lot as a politician and, you get people that want to sort of have a go at you every now and then. But, boy, you get exposed to the most interesting people. You get to see things that other people would never see. And that's enjoyable. And the opportunity to participate in public debate is just a great opportunity.
I agree with you on that. It doesn't matter what side of politics you are. I've seen pollies out and about, and they never really get much free time. They go to the footy, someone wants to have a crack or have a chat. That's part of the gig. I understand that. Finishing on my cricket analogy today. Do you like cricket?
Yeah, I do. Look, I won't say I'm a fastidious follower. But I love to look at it. And as a boy, can I tell you, in the bush, I love just listening to it in the background on the radio.
Are you wearing a helmet, a box, and a thigh pad and a chest pad?
Nah, look, I'm not. I don't have pretensions. I'm who I am, and we're out there giving it a red hot go. And I think we're doing a good job, can I say, as a collective team. And I'm proud of the job that the whole Alliance team with the Nationals and ourselves are doing, and that's our job, to be really well prepared for the next election in 2025, and we're doing everything we can to do that.
Thanks for coming in.
No, I'm really grateful, Steve. Thanks very much.
David Honey, leader of the WA Liberal Party, and everyone's got a story. And in the interest of political balance, the Premier is welcome at any time to come and tell us his story away from politics.
Get down to your local tennis club today. It's a great sport for all generations. Play with family, friends, or get your workmates in on it. Not only is it fun, but Mayo Clinic research positions tennis above all other sports, adding 9.5 years to your life. Visit play.tennis.com.au.
You're invited to see the future of home design right here in WA. Australia's most sustainable two-storey home has launched at Brabham Estate. Wander through the Green Homes display and be inspired by stunning interiors and sustainable and cost-saving smarts. Find out how you can use the same energy-efficient technologies in your own home and live the better life. Visit the display village at Brabham Estate today. brabhamestate.com.au.
Every day at Simmons, our people stand by our promise to be with you throughout your new home journey. Over the last 70 years, Simmons have seen and dealt with it all. And despite today's trade and material shortages, our size and strong relationships means we'll deliver on what we promise. So if you're ready to join the thousands of Australians we're welcoming home each month, talk to Simmons, the great Australian builder. Find out more at simmons.com.au. CDB-U 49491.